Well, that is shooting from the hip, and this video is about how to learn to shoot from the hip. And shooting from the hip is a real thing in history. There were Western gunfighters that could do it. We've all seen it in the movies. It looks cool. A lot of people think that either you can't learn to do it or it take you forever to learn to do it. And it can take you a long time, but I have some tips and tricks on how to learn to shoot from the hip faster. So the first one would be, you want to position the gun in your hand the same way each time, because if you're inconsistent as to how you hold that gun, and one time it's cocked this way, one time it's cocked this way, it's a little far out, if you're choked up on it, you want to grip that gun the same way every time, and you want it in line with your arm. And so I like to start out in the holster as a reference point. It's straight in the holster, so I go down, I find it in the holster, put my hand in the same place when I'm going to shoot from the hip like that. The next thing is you have to realize that it's not like it's totally instinctive and you're not thinking about it. You are aiming with your eyes still. You're just not using the sights. And you're concentrating, you're focused on what you're doing. It's every bit as hard as using sights. But you're just not using the sights. You're training your brain to use your eyes to align your arm with where you're looking. And so you can do it with live ammunition. It would take you longer, be expensive. The way that I got a head start on it is I used the G-Sight laser training cartridges, because I could get a lot more practice shooting and I could train my brain to point my finger where my eyes wanted the bullet to go. So next we're going to go inside and I'm going to show you how I did that. Okay, so I got my targets pinned on the wall, and these targets are 50% targets, so they're 50% the size of a full-size target like this. It's the size of a person. And so whatever distance I shoot at these small targets indoors, it mimics twice the distance. So in this case, I'm 3 yards from those little targets, so that's like shooting 6 yards out on the range. Okay, so I got my laser targets in my gun. Of course, I make sure my gun has no live ammunition in it. It's all laser cartridges only, and I verified that. And so then when you start out, now with a gun like mine that's a single action Army with a firing pin and a hammer, when the hammer's down on the cartridge, it's going to stay on. Okay, you can take it off by putting on the safety notch, but anytime that you fire a shot, the laser's probably going to stay on. Now, if you had a Ruger Vaquero or any other gun with a transfer bar and a firing pin in the frame, then the laser will just flash and won't stay on. That's better, but that's just the quirk of this gun. It's not the laser. So anyway, so when you start out, just let your brain figure out where your hand is pointing just by shooting at little targets like this. I'm just trying to hit in the A zones. Just go slow at first, and you'll find that your brain gradually learns where you're pointing with a given gun. You know, I'm gonna go for the heads. Just down, boom, boom, boom. So that's how you do it. And then in my case, I wanted to learn to fan. Now you can't fan most single action revolvers without damaging them, but I can fan mine. And so when I'm fanning, so I'm getting the movement. And when I transition with the laser on, I see the laser, which isn't great, but I have to pay attention to where it's at when I'm firing it. But it shows the movement in the gun as I'm fanning it. I can control that. You can get a decent pattern on there. So that's why the lasers really work good, because it shows you everything that you're doing. So that's the basic routine that I did. You know, you can add to it more targets. I'd rather shoot farther than this, and I did in my house, in my shop here. So this is the only room I have. So you can back it up farther. You could make even a smaller target, which would duplicate more distance also. That's another way you can do that. So that's the laser target routine. That's how I learned. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Now another thing that's neat, if you're into the semi-automatics, it's even better, because the G-Sight cartridges that go in the semi-automatics with the striker fire, they just flash for a second like you want. This is a lot better. Like that. So you can do it like that, hip shoot it like that. So either way, semi-automatic or revolver, the G-Sight laser cartridges work really good. And G-Sight cartridges, to me, I think they're probably the best brand. They're high quality. The Elms version of this cartridge, this is 45 long Colt, comes in a nice hard box like this. It includes the cartridge itself, and the batteries are already in the cartridge, and they have a little, you take the cartridge apart, it has like a little insulator block to keep the batteries from draining. So you take that out, and then you've had a set of brand new batteries in there, and then when they wear out, then you got a backup set, and that all comes with the purchase. And then it's also got a set of oversized rings, and the oversized rings go on the cartridge itself, and it helps you fit it to your gun, because you want it to fit in the chamber really tightly so that the cartridge doesn't move around. You get an accurate presentation of the laser. So I highly recommend the Elms version of the G-Sight cartridge. They have a more affordable cartridge that comes in 9mm only. I forgot the name of that one. But we'll go over that. We'll go over that in the next video I'm going to make on this. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to the concept of learning to hip shoot with laser cartridges. There's a lot more applications for this with sighted fire you can do too. We're going to get into that in another video. So that's my... Well, thanks for watching my how to hip shoot video. I wanted to mention a couple of more tips that will help you get good at it. One is, if you're serious about it like I am, you're going to want to buy 6 of the laser cartridges to do your training. Because the last thing you want to do is be out there and fire one, and then you have to go to half cock, rotate your cylinder around, find the laser to start over again. It just slows you down. I mean, that's half the reason you're doing the laser cartridges anyway, is because you don't want to break up your training. Like at the range, you're going to fire 5, reload, you unload your cartridges that are spent, reload it. It just breaks up your training. So by using the laser cartridges, you can go and go and go, but you can only do that if you have 6. So I know it costs more money, but just get 6 if you're serious about it. It'll make it a lot more enjoyable for you, and you'll learn a lot faster. And then the other trick I was going to mention is that when you do your laser training at home, you do all your lasers, you get the confidence at home, you can hit the targets with the lasers, you're pretty confident you can do it. Okay, then go out to the range, and when you practice your live fire, you don't want to be too far away from the target. You don't want to be as close as you can safely be. Now, if it's steel, you got to back up at least 8 yards or so. But if it's cardboard targets and the rules allow it, you want to start out 3 or 4 yards, just so it isn't so hard. And another thing that will help you is if it's a cloudy day like this, like the sun's just starting to come out here, it'd have to be a little bit cloudier than this probably. But if it's a cloudy day, or if it's in the evening or early in the morning, the light's kind of dim, if you take that empty chamber at the range when you're going to do your live fire, you put the laser cartridge in that, and especially if you paint the target black, you can just see the laser on the target. So you can line up that way, and with your laser on the target, you can see the laser, and it'll help you figure out where your hip shooting point is. Then as you cock the hammer, now you're on a live round and you can fire. So it only works when it's cloudy or low light. It won't work on a sunny day, but that sometimes it helps you get your confidence to do it with live fire, because it's first time you do it, it feels kind of weird. So those are a couple of points. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope you learn to hip shoot like me.